Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to revisit one of the iconic New England IPA breweries, one of the big four if you can call them that, and you've seen me review a good 7 or 8 of their beers now over the last kind of 2 years, 18 months. So for this one we are going to return to Boston in Massachusetts, a very pretty city with a lot of history about the Boston Tea Party, the Revolution, all of these kind of things that I do recommend you visit. But for this one we are going to go to a brewery that's very highly regarded generally throughout America. We're going to have a look at another beer from Trillium Brewing Company, and this one is the original version of the Congress Street, a New England IPA coming in at 7.2% ABV. From what I understand, this is kind of one of their flagship beers, and it's part of the Street series of New England IPAs. This brewery love to name their beers after the streets that kind of go around their different facilities and things. So really curious to see how this one turns out, because the first time I encountered Trillium Brewing, it was because my mum and dad brought me a mixed 6-pack back from when they were over in Boston, and one of those beers was the double dry hopped version of Congress Street. So I'm really curious to see how the original one turns out. A huge thank you in this review to Chris Contreras, an American guy living in Belgium who has supplied me with some ridiculous New England beers over the last little while. He sent me one box that had a load of Treehouse in it with an Aslan beer, and then he sent me another box that had even more Treehouse in it and a couple of Trillium things as well. So a huge thank you to him for making this review possible, and I hate to think how much he's spent on sending me beer over the last little while, but obviously it's really a great privilege to be able to try some of these crazy New England beers for you. So I really hope that you guys enjoying the videos particularly enjoy these beers. So yeah, looking forward to this one, and as always I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. I'm curious to see the original version of this beer, as I mentioned before. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Trillium Brewing Company before. This, I believe, is review number 8, but hopefully I can add some more at some point in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is massively appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the brewery then before we taste the beer, on to my brewery notes. So Trillium Brewing Company opened back in March of 2013, and it was founded by JC and Esther Tetro. I think that's a French name, so I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. 12 years since I did French at school, incidentally. But apparently Esther and JC started out brewing beers just to kind of celebrate their marriage, and then they really enjoyed it and eventually decided that they were going to turn professional, and it's turned out pretty well for them, we have to say. But the brewery were originally based in the Fort Point area in South Boston, but they only had a 10 barrel system there, but this site was later upgraded to a 250 BBL system. But they also have a secondary facility at Canton, which opened up in December of 2015, and this one is a 16,000 square foot brewery, and it brews 35,000 BBLs annually. But in 2016 the brewery also began canning their beers, and at this point they said the biggest challenge for them was to manage their growth, because they became very highly sought after. People were queuing for ages to get a hold of the new releases and things from these guys. But they've managed it fairly successfully. They've now got another location in Fenway, which is close to the home of the Boston Red Sox. Of course, I've been there to see a baseball game, which was quite interesting. You can find this tap room on Park Drive. It's a little bit like a kind of greenhouse, actually. They said the idea behind the design of this one was to be similar to a greenhouse. But from 2017 they've also been opening up the Trillium Garden during the summer to serve their beers, and this location seems to be moved around every year. So if you are in Boston over the summer, make sure you just have a little look at the website and see where it's going to be. But they're also working to build up their own farm as well, where they're going to go grow different ingredients and also produce some different beers as well. I would suspect that if they're getting a farm, it's probably going to be like sour beers and things that they're going to start experimenting with, and farmhouse ales and all of this kind of thing. But a very prolific brewery, this one. They've done a hell of a lot of different beers in their short sort of 5-6 year history. 6 years now actually, but yeah, they've done a hell of a lot, and like you say, they are one of the kind of iconic New England IPA craft breweries, these guys. So if you find yourself in Boston, then I would highly recommend that you go and check these guys out. The other big kind of 4 New England IPA breweries are probably you know, Hill Farmstead, the Alchemist Brewery, and also you've got Treehouse Brewing too. You know, those are the big four that we always hear about over here in Europe. But that said, you know, there are many others around the area now, but these are the big four that everyone kind of seems to go on about from over in New England and America. A very pretty part of the country, incidentally, and somewhere that you do need to go and visit if you get the chance. I'll be over in Connecticut for a friend's wedding. That'll be around August next year, so hopefully I can do a few little brewery visit videos to places like Hill Farmstead and Alchemist and all of these kind of things. So we'll need to see how that goes. But yeah, really looking forward to this beer, so let's get on with it and have a taste of it. If you want to learn more about Trillium Brewing Company, check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and you can keep up to date with all the latest goings on there. And you can also look at the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to see all the different things that they've done. But yeah, to tell you a little bit about this beer then, so as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 7.2% New England IPA. It's hopped with Galaxy and Columbus. What it will probably be is that Galaxy is the flavour, Aroma hop, an Australian hop, lots of passion fruit and some complexities with it, and Columbus will be more the bittering hop. It's a nice kind of quite spicy floral aromatic hop. It's got a malt base of American two-row barley, white wheat, C15, and then some dextrin and dextrose sugars in there as well. So yeah, let's get on and actually taste this then. I'll let you have a little look at the artwork before we open it up. As you can see, you know, this is the kind of artwork, the sort of style that a lot of the European breweries are doing these days. So this one, you know, it's a lot of these, the breweries over here are just using this sort of white background and then putting other kind of crazy stuff in the middle of it. And I think it's been copied from the American breweries. There are a lot of them are using 440 milliliter cans too, and I think this is based on the fact that the American pint is 473 milliliters. So this beer is 473 milliliters, 1 US pint. There you can see the Trillium Brewing Company symbol there. The Trillium, of course, is a type of flower that is native to North America, and Canada, and yeah, so yeah, curious to see how this one turns out. So without further ado, let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. A 7.2% New England IPA from Trillium Brewing Company, Boston, Massachusetts. Oh, this one is a little bit darker than the Melcher Street is, from what I remember. So yeah, there's still a good 100 mils or so in there. But yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured a lovely kind of bright. It's kind of like a sort of ambery fruit juice kind of colour. This one, there is a little bit of an ambery orange to the beer, but it does lean a little bit towards that kind of yellowy note as well. There's a solid half finger of a frothy, well, actually more kind of bumpy, creamy coloured head on this one. It's not perfect white by any means, but you can see there's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side at the bottom of the glass, and you can see a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty nice, and you know, kind of what you would expect from a New England IPA, to be honest with you. Nothing overly surprising about this beer, and you can see that the level of haze on this one is pretty damn crazy. That is a little bit like barley soup, as my Swedish friend likes to describe the beer, but you can see if I put my fingers behind the glass, there is the level of haze there. But yeah, let's take a look at the aroma then and see how we get on with this one. Ooh, that comes across pretty nicely, I have to say. So, this one is kind of interesting because straight away with this beer, you can really smell the wheat in it. And I've said, you know, you get kind of trends actually that I've noticed with the with some of these New England IPA breweries. So for me, Treehouse tends to be a little bit more kind of like light and smooth and drinkable. The Trillium ones tend to be a little bit more kind of pungent and bitey, and the Alchemist ones I think are a little bit more sort of rustic and farmhousey. They have that sort of whole farmhousey, kind of almost saison-y type yeasty thing going on with them. This one is, I would say, probably the Trillium ones are kind of akin to what we would get over in Copenhagen with, for example, like Gamma Brewing or Dry and Bitter or something like this, or Brewski in Helsingborg and Skåne here in the south of Sweden. You know, in my experience, the Trillium ones are kind of more akin to what we would get here. Treehouse, on the other hand, have been more like the Russian New England IPAs that I've tried. But yeah, the aroma from this one straight away is absolutely lovely. You can pick out the wheat in this. You can pick out a little bit of that almost rusticy, kind of farmhousey note in there as well. This beer does have an element of that kind of earthy, herbal, vegetal kind of thing underneath it too. But yeah, definitely some nice wheaty notes. You can pick up a little bit of the... you can definitely pick up a little bit of the oaty creaminess in there as well, but really it's the kind of pungency of the wheat that's sticking out with this beer for me. You've got a nice, you do have a nice little bit of a kind of biscuity note to this one also. But yeah, the dextrose and the dextrin sugars will be giving you some of that kind of creamy note in there. But so there's not, I don't think there's oats in the malt base of this one. They do prefer to use the sugars at Trillium Brewing Company for the beer. But the way that malt base goes together is quite nice. It really is pungent. I think this beer is going to have a good little bit of bite to it. In terms of the hoppy side of things then, you can pick up straight away on the green side of things. There's a big floral aromatic note to this, and that'll be mainly the Columbus that's giving you that. You do get a little bit of grassiness in there, but it's really the big spicy floral aromatic notes in there. There's a wee touch of earthiness as well, which I think is mixing in with those yeasty qualities that I was talking about. But the floral aromaticity coupled with the the floral aromaticity kind of coupled together with the kind of citrusy pungency of the wheat is really jumping out with this beer actually. So yeah, in terms of the fruity side then, this one's, it's definitely passion fruity, you know, it's that typical sort of galaxy type thing. You've got a little bit of an apricot-y note in there, there's a wee bit of a sort of mango-y type flavour as well, but I really like how all of this goes together. I mean, this smells as if it's going to be quite a punchy, bitey New England IPA, this one, but as I say, I've experienced that with the Melcher Street in the last Trillium video that I did, so I'm quite prepared for what this one I think is going to be like. And I think it was just a different hop actually that was in Melcher Street. I'm sure that Melcher Street was Mosaic, whereas this one is Galaxy. So yeah, I'm guessing by the aroma it's maybe a different yeast strain too. But yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck in. A really quite punchy, bitey smelling New England IPA, this one. So let's have a taste of it then and just see how we get on. This one is the original version of the Congress Street, a New England IPA. It's 7.2% ABV from Trillium Brewing Company over in Boston in Massachusetts in America. Let's get stuck in. Slanju, Skull, a huge thank you to Chris once again. Cheers. Yeah, that really is pretty damn nice, I have to say. And again, I mean, I've said in the Treehouse videos that I've been doing, and the other Trillium one too, I'm quite lucky because these beers have just reached me at the point where I feel they're starting to get into their prime. I've said this, I've repeated this, but for me, I don't like drinking the New England IPAs too fresh. I think you've got to leave them around sort of 2-3 weeks, sometimes even a month, just to let them sort of mellow out a little bit so that you can really enjoy the drinkability that this style should give you. And you know, in the aroma this one comes across as a bit of a beast and very bitey, but in the flavour and the flavour profile, it really is very, very kind of drinkable. So you know, thumbs up to Trillium Brewing Company once again with this beer. But you know, this brewery had a reputation for a reason, so it's not surprising. Yeah, this one's, it comes across as quite an oily New England IPA this, but it's got a good bit of wetness to it as well actually. It's not the most oily one that I've come across. So yeah, I really like how that fits together in this beer. Let's see if we can break down the flavour then. So middle of your palate, you're going to feel a little bit of that kind of pale malty, white bready, wheaty kind of thing. That blankets the middle of your tongue. The further you go into the aftertaste, you can pick up a few of the remnants of the yeasty qualities with this beer. You know, it does have a little bit of that slightly vegetal, herbal kind of thing, that almost farmhousey quality that you might find from Alchemist, but it's not quite as strong as theirs. It does lean a little bit more towards the earthy side of things actually, and it sort of balances out. There is a good bit of earthiness in the back corners of the palate from the Columbus. And it sort of balances out fairly well with that, so it doesn't feel out of place. I'll say that about it. But yeah, in that malt base then, in the middle of your palate you start to get that kind of creaminess out of it, which will be the dextrose and the dextrin. I'm not sure exactly what C15 would give you, to be honest, because I don't think many of the European breweries would use that, or at least I've not heard of them using it. But the middle of your palate does come across as being very slightly creamy, but it's not quite as thick a creaminess as you would expect from, say, you know, from whether if oats were used in the beer. But this, it comes across just really nicely and very smooth in the middle of the palate. And the further you go into the aftertaste with this beer, you start to get a little bit of a biscuity note right in the middle of your palate, just a little bit of that almost McVitie's digestive type sweetness to it. So I really like how the malt base goes together in this one. It feels at the same time quite light, but it does have a good bit of smoothness and a good bit of flavour to it. So just keep that in mind with this beer. Yeah, this really is quite nice. If you get the chance to try some of these Trillium beers, I highly recommend that you do. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there, as I was saying. That kind of blends in with some of the complexities, if you like, from the yeasty side of the beer. But as you come further forward, that smooths out a little bit. You get a nice floral aromatic quality on the front corners of the palate, then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit more kind of lighter and grassy. Then behind that front curve of the palate, you've got that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. And for me, the fruitiness with this one, I expected it to be really pungent, because, you know, Galaxy, pardon me, is a hop that really comes in with a big punch to it, you know, the Australian beast, if you like. And in fairness, when you take it in, at the back of that oily bubble, you will get that nice kind of passion fruity note, but as you come further forward from that, it really starts to get a little bit more kind of, it's not mangoes, it's got a little bit of an almost slightly peachy kind of quality to it. There's a little bit of a, there is a little bit of an almost mango-y, pineapple-y note in there as well. As you come further forward on the tongue, it definitely feels a little bit more sort of like pineapple-y or something like that to me. I really like how that goes together. I don't know if I've actually had a single hopped Galaxy beer now that I think about it. So this is another interesting point about this one. Quite often in Europe you'll find Galaxy and Citra together, or Galaxy and Mosaic, you know, something like that. But there's a hell of a lot of different hops over in America. Sabro, Idaho 7, Girillo, things like that. There's lots of different hops appearing over there, and of course you've got the New Zealand hops that have their own kind of qualities too. There's more hops coming out of Australia also, Enigma being the big one at the moment. So yeah, this beer, it really is very nice. When you take the aroma into this one, you get the impression that this is going to be a big bitey beast of a New England IPA. I thought this one was going to be really quite bitter and bitey, but it's actually really nice and very drinkable. It's got a very good balance in its mouthfeel that helps it along the way. So it gets a massive thumbs up from me, this. Compared to the original double dry hop version, I think this one feels a little bit more drinkable. And I've said this about dry hop beers as well. They always, quite often they come across as being really dusty to me sometimes, but it depends on what level they are hopped. I mean, I had one recently, it was, I think, Even More Cowbell from Amundsen and Lervig from Norway, and it was dry hopped to 80 grams per litre or something like that, which was insane. You got the hop dust out of it. So to be honest, when it comes to double dry hopping and things like that, you know, I think it just depends from beer to beer whether it's worth it or not. But I think, you know, this beer, its original version, it really stands up kind of quite nicely. If you like your beers to feel a little bit more green, I guess, then probably the double dry hop version is more kind of to your liking. But as it stands, the original version of this beer, I think, is really quite nice actually. If I had to pick between this one and the Melcher Street, I honestly don't know, because they're, in some ways they're really quite similar, and it just depends on what fruit you would like actually. You know, if you prefer sort of tangerine oranges, go for the Melcher Street, but if you like the more kind of tropically notes, then probably the Congress Street is a good beer for you to go for. But both very solid New England IPAs, but who would expect anything less? In terms of the mouthfeel then, yeah, mid-bodied beer. Carbonation is very smooth in this one. Like I said earlier, this beer has a good balance in its mouthfeel between being oily, but also just leaning more towards the wet side of things. You've got a nice little bit of hoppy bitterness in there. I would say, I think this one's only about 30 IBUs, to be honest with you. I think this one is quite low in terms of its IBU count, maybe 40 at most. The malt base is quite smooth. At the same time, it dries out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste, and there's a little degree of sweetness to it also, but the fruitiness comes across as really quite nice and and slightly oily and juicy and things like that too. So yeah, it's just a beautiful beer, this one of the icons of the New England IPA style, so have a go at it for yourself and see what you think. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is one of their kind of flagship beers, if you like, part of their street series. So yeah, check this beer out if you get the chance, but like I say, hopefully I can go to Canton and film a little brewery sort of visit video for you the next time I make it out to the States, which should be around August or September of 2020, so we'll see how we get on with that. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Trillium Brewing Company as well. I will return to these guys at some point in the next while, hopefully, but it's been really cool to review this one for you, and I hope you've enjoyed these 2 Trillium reviews. A massive thank you to Chris for making them possible. Check out my social media, check out Trillium Brewing Company, and you know, just enjoy some of these New England IPAs. The original American ones are really interesting to try in comparison to the European ones that we are getting actually. So yeah, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. This one is the original version of the Congress Street, a New England IPA. It's 7.2% from Boston in Massachusetts in America. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.